The Madison County Board of Education special session for Thursday, April 7th, 2022 is in session. Mr. Perkins, would you do the invocation for us?
Absolutely. Let us bow our heads. Father in heaven, we're grateful for your divine grace that gives us life, health, and strength, for the opportunity, Lord, to come into your presence and serve others at the level that you have appointed us to. We ask and pray, O Lord, that you would be in this meeting today. We ask, Lord, that everything that we do will be to your name's honor and glory. May we keep in mind, Lord, that we are here to serve others, our students, our faculty and staff, our community, and help us, Lord, to make decisions, Lord, that will give the best opportunity for our students to reach high levels of achievement in all areas of their experience. Bless us, Lord, to do your will and to do it as you would have us to do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I recommend approval of the agenda dated April the 7th, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of agenda dated Thursday, April 7th, 2022. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I recommend approval of the minutes dated February 3rd, February 3rd, and February 18th, 2022, March the 3rd, and March 21st, 2022.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of minutes dated February 3rd and 18th, 2022, and March 3rd and 21st, 2022. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Perkins.
I want to take this opportunity to recognize the Hazel Green High School girls basketball team. They were the Alabama High School Athletic Association 6A state championship team. But this is not just, they just won it this year. This is the 5th time in a row. This is number 5 in a row. So want to just take this time to congratulate you ladies for a job well done. But I also want to congratulate the coaching staff who work with these young ladies. It's a great thing to win a state championship, but it's an even greater thing to win a state championship and to win it while academically achieving at a high level. And these young ladies have done that. And so I want to congratulate you on behalf of the board, on behalf of our district as a whole, and thank you all for representing us so well. Coaches, thank you for doing such a great job. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Carey because he, of course, represents Hazel Green. And he has a couple of things he's going to read, and also he has a resolution to read as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Perkins. So I second what Mr. Perkins said. Congratulations, ladies. Outstanding job for what you've done. Coaching staff, Mr. Miller and his team, y'all have done a phenomenal job over the years. It seems like every year, at least since I've been on the board, I've seen you ladies. It's every year I think you guys have won a championship since I've been on the school board. So it's a blessing to be able to see you all and operate in this capacity. So we got some stats we're going to read that were provided to us that's just incredible. So I'm just going to read it exactly how it was given to me. Hazel Green High School girls basketball, 9 years of unprecedented success. Record is 300 wins, 27 losses, 92% winning percentage. I don't know if there's any other school in Alabama or let alone the country that's got a winning percentage that high. 37 total graduates. 35 out of the 37 graduates have received college scholarships that include both academic and athletic scholarships and are offers. Two close to work right away post-high school. Two chose to work right away post-high school. 26 out of 37 graduates maintain a 3.5 GPA or higher. That's outstanding. 16 out of 37 graduated achieved a 4.0 GPA or higher. 8 consecutive Final Four appearances. 6 consecutive state championship appearances. First team in Madison County school history to win 5 consecutive basketball state championships. First varsity team in Madison County schools history to complete an academic season undefeated. the first school team in Madison County Schools history to produce a Miss or Mr. Alabama basketball in any sport. These stats are amazing. Ladies, congratulations. This is just unprecedented. I'm going to stop and give you guys a round of applause for just a moment. We also, as a board, we have drafted a resolution for you all that will be provided to you. And I'm going to read this resolution out loud so we have this document in the minutes as well. Whereas the Hazel Green High School Lady Trojan basketball team won a hard-fought victory over a tough Oxford team with the final score of 55-38 to win their 5th consecutive state championship on March 5th, 2022. And whereas this outstanding accomplishment culminates an impressive season record of 35-0, and whereas the team members are Sydney Stewart, Ija Drake, Addison Cantrell, Jaden Toney, Reagan Bader, Zariah Price, Leah Brooks, Amaya Reedus, Seven Crutcher, Samaya Steele, Brett Douglas, and Nyla Collier. And whereas the Madison County school system would like to recognize Samaya Steele as Alabama's 2022 Miss Basketball and state tournament MVP, and Samaya Steele and Leah Brooks as state finals all-tournament. And whereas this is the girls' first girls basketball team in Madison County history and Alabama High School Athletic Association 6A or 7A history to win 5 consecutive state championships. And whereas the Lady Trojans have a history of success over the past 9 years that warrants recognition with a record of 300 wins, 27 losses. Their home record is 140 wins, 5 losses. They have won 30 more games each year for 7 of the past 9 years. They have appeared in 8 state finals and hold 8 regional titles. In addition to 5 state championships, they have been the state runner-up 1 year. 11 team members have maintained a 4.0 GPA or higher. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the superintendent and Madison County Board of Education congratulate the Hazel Green High School Lady Trojans basketball team and their coaches, acknowledge this achievement, and express due acclamation for their outstanding accomplishment. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to the team members, Coach Tim Miller, assistant coaches Demetrius Miller, Jesse Brooks, Ronnie Smith, and Principal Errol Quinn Hedden, and the words be set in perpetuity upon the minutes of the Madison County Board of Education, dated the 7th day of April, 2022. Thank you guys very much. Congratulations. So I need a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution is adopted.
So let's go ahead and get an opportunity. If all the girls, if you all would come up, and coaching staff, if you would come up, we're going to go ahead and take some pictures. Dr. Hedden, I thought I saw you back there. You are the principal, so you might as well come on up here too. Congratulations, ladies.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats. Awesome.
It is my privilege and my honor to welcome to the podium Dr. Wayne Reynolds. He is our state board member for District 8, and he has a couple of recognitions that he'd like to share. Dr. Reynolds, thank you for coming. We appreciate you making the drive up this way.
Thank you, Superintendent Perkins. And while you're talking about Hazel Green, I want to tell you, as some of you may know, I was superintendent in Athens, and there was no rivalry that was more significant than our women's rivalry with Hazel Green. Not only were they a vicious team to play, but they were a team with great integrity and great sportsmanship. And I know when we came to Hazel Green and Hazel Green came to Athens, we knew that there was camaraderie that extended beyond the score. And I commend you, and they've left, but they have a long history that extends beyond them. And it's heartwarming to me that they managed to beat other people like they used to beat Athens, and I appreciate that. I'm here because the Madison County school system excels in so many ways. Obviously, we recognize the achievements in athletics, but I'm here to commend and to recognize two other components. One is the art education program. The state of Alabama, the state board has awarded 3 grants of $20,000 each to 3 schools in Madison County: Endeavor Elementary, Hazel Green High School, and Monrovia Middle School. All got a $20,000 grant for arts education, and that's commendable. That's an area that we don't often recognize, and we don't see as an important component of our school system. We know as public servants, school board members, how much criticism we're subject to, but these children and you all deserve the credit for the kind of leadership that you put in, that people would apply for these grants. These are not just handouts. They applied and had to substantiate their qualifications. In addition to that, we know career tech and vocational education are an important component of our school systems. And you've had 3 school systems, and I think, before Mr. Perkins got the letters, that's why I called to talk about them, about the agri-science education extended year programs. And you had 3 schools that applied and were awarded significant amounts of money. Buckhorn got $15,304. Madison County High School got $13,393, and Hazel Green got the most, $17,670. These all had to be applied to, and they're based on the quality and the expertise of your leadership and your teachers and your administrators, and I commend you for that, because we know these funds will be well used, well deserved, and I wanted you all to know that. We wanted to make it public, and I appreciate you allowing me to show up, Superintendent Perkins. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. We really appreciate it. And again, congratulations to the schools that were awarded those funds. We definitely know that our schools are going to use it for the benefit of our students and high-level learning for them. Number 4, a recognition of the Madison County's Purple Star School Program. Dr. Ballard.
Ken.
Well, good evening. We are thrilled to just share a little bit about our Purple Star program. We have the privilege here in Madison County to support all of our students, but we're excited and thrilled to continue to enhance our support for our military-connected students. And so we're so appreciative of their parents and their families' service to our country, and we want to ensure that we're providing them with everything that they need to be successful. And so our military-connected children refer to children whose parents or their guardians are service members on active duty in the National Guard or the Reserve, not just the Army or Coast Guard and things of that nature. So what this program does, it helps us respond to the students' educational and social-emotional needs. And so the Military Child Education Coalition, the MCEC, is a national advocate for the Purple Star Schools program. And in February 11th, 2021, our Alabama legislators established the Alabama Purple Star Program and Committee here in Alabama. And so we had opportunity, our schools had opportunity to apply for the program, and 7 of our schools applied. So every school will eventually have a point of contact for our military-connected families. There's a dedicated webpage for us on our website for our military families, and every school will have a student-led transition program, which is called Student to Student for our schools. And so we're very thrilled about the support that we're able to provide our military families. And Dr. Mackey has declared April 20th as Purple Up Day, and so we encourage everyone to wear purple in honor of our military-connected families in support of their service to our country and symbolizing that our schools are supporting those children. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ballard.
So we have a resolution as it relates to Purple Stars. Did I say that right?
Purple Star, yeah.
Purple Stars.
Pretty good.
And yeah, being a military child myself, this is something that I certainly do appreciate the district is doing. But I'm going to go ahead and read this resolution as well. It says, whereas the Madison County Board of Education recognizes and appreciates the service of our military men and women in support and defense of our nation, and whereas the Madison County Board of Education acknowledges that active military families in the fulfillment of their duties to our nation face unique challenges, including deployment, reintegration, service in combat zones, and frequent relocations based on duty assignment, and whereas we celebrate the exceptional service, strength, and character of military-connected students and families in the Madison County school system, and whereas the Madison County Board of Education is committed to meeting the unique needs of all of our students, including military and connected students, and whereas the Madison County school system will recognize and celebrate military families and students during Military Family Appreciation Month, each November, month of the military child each April, Purple Up Day each April, as well as Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and whereas the Madison County school system will ask students, faculty, and staff to wear purple on designated day each April to show support and thank military children for their strength and sacrifice. Now be it resolved that the Madison County Board of Education affirms a commitment to support our military families and is dedicated to providing resources and programs which could benefit students and their families academically, socially, and emotionally. And be it further resolved that the Madison County Board of Education shall support the Alabama and Madison County Schools Purple Stars program in an effort to ease the burden of service for military families by both raising the level of understanding and support by the staff members of this district and continuing to celebrate military service in our community. Dated the 7th day of April, 2022. I need a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kubik, you've been anxious and dying to get up there, so guess what? It's your turn. So he's going to talk about the salary schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. I provided each of the board members with a handout, and as you all know, most of you that have been on the board for quite some time, we've been working on this for, I don't know, the better part of, 7 years, maybe 8 years now, Miss O'Bannon. And, we've been taking it, the old adage, take it, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. Well, we're finally down to the bottom part. So this is the last of the big revisions for the salary schedule that we're tackling this year. So when you look at it, the first big piece is, of course, as you've seen on the media, the legislation has, and it's with the governors now, the new teacher salary schedule as well as the 4% for everyone else. So that will be implemented based on the teacher salary schedule. And, we run 2 different salary schedules, our old teachers and, of course, the new one. So what we're going to have to do is, because these numbers have now gotten a lot closer and some have exceeded, we're going to have to calculate each teacher's salary and make sure that we place them on the correct one, whether it's on the new one or the old one, whatever's greater. So that's one of the things we're going to have to tackle this year, which, we weren't expecting with just a straight 4%. But with that, we're still Xing out the old pieces that no longer apply in the old salary schedules as we move, because everyone hired in the last 4 years is on the new one. On page 6, there's some IT. There was those position changes that we had as far as the titles. So you'll see that those are corrected there, from computer manager to senior support tech and computer tech to support tech. Those were things you already had approved, but these are the actual changes on the salary schedule. Then one of the first pieces that we tackle in this year is the CMP wages, comparing our CMP wages to the other districts that surround us. And when I say other districts, I'm referring to Limestone, Jackson, Marshall, Morgan counties. We were under in those areas, and these increases, as far as at the manager, the 187 and the 184, those increases will get us where we're more competitive with our surrounding county systems as far as our CMP staff. So those are there, and you'll see the cost off to the right-hand side of what that would approximately is going to cost us. The second piece, which was the largest piece that we're tackling this year, and this is the last piece, is the clerical aid, the instructional aids, and the special ed aids. We've been moving to every position having 10 steps, starting at 0 and then 1 through 10, so 11 total steps. And with that, the only positions that do not have those steps are ones that are state salary matrices by the state legislation. And that would be your teachers, that would be your Teams Act teachers, and of course your nurses. So they have whatever their state salary matrix aligns as far as their steps. And then of course our bus drivers, where we have the tenured and the non-tenured. Otherwise, everybody, once we tackle this piece of the clerical, the instructional, and the special ed aids, we will all have everyone on a 10-step system starting 0 through 1 through 10. And the way we've adjusted that is we had 0 through 12. Those numbers comparing to Limestone, Morgan, Marshall, and Jackson County, we were also on the low end of paying in that area. So what we've done is we've eliminated step 0 and step 1, and we've slid everything down. So what used to be step 12 will now become step 10. What that has done is it made us a whole lot more competitive with our neighboring counties, county school districts, as far as those positions, and should help also with hiring, because the increase is on the low end, and that should help with the increasing or the possibility of hiring for our special ed aides, which we have difficulties in our instructional aides. By cleaning that up, you'll notice that the cost of that is off to the right-hand side, and that's approximate cost there. We're still cleaning up the old custodian step, so we're Xing out some of those. And then on page 16, the lead nurse, we changed the lead nurse to a nurse manager and nurse supervisor. And so with that, we no longer need the lead nurse supplement. So that has been removing that. And then Mr. Perkins would like to add a lead social work supplement. That is on there. And then on page 17, the only other change we have is there is some change in the legislation in reference to substitute teachers. We are going to see how that legislation vets out as far as the cost, and we will come back with you for something to address substitutes as far as increasing those wages as well. And those are the changes, really not a whole lot, but it was a big, that the clerical aides, instructional aides, and special ed aides was a big piece. It was one of the largest pieces. Any questions?
Is everybody getting a 4% raise across the board? Is that what I'm understanding, or no?
At least a 4%.
Okay, so at least everybody that works for the Madison County school system is getting a 4% raise.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And now on the raises, they go on the base salaries. They don't go on the supplemental pieces.
Right.
So it doesn't go on like coaches supplements. It doesn't go on the supplements for whether you're a high school, middle school. It just goes on the bases and on their advanced degrees, which is where the salary matrix places the raises.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Cubic.
All right, sir.
Thanks, Ken. Item B for informational items, discussion of exam exemptions. Ms. Ray?
Hi. All right, I'd like to talk for just a few minutes tonight about revisiting the exam exemption policy that we had in place prior to COVID. This is a discussion that actually originated with our high school principals because while attendance has been a problem for several years, it's really been exacerbated by the pandemic. And we feel like, and I plan to share some information with you to show that if we don't take steps to address it, it has the potential to significantly impact our school system in a negative way. Obviously, the first thing to consider would be the effect that it has on student achievement. The direct correlation to when students come to school, they perform better on standardized tests and they perform better in the classroom. This particular study focuses on math achievement, and it's looking at different ethnicities, and it's also looking at stable students as opposed to transient students. And what it shows is while there's an achievement gap, the impact that attendance has on all students is the same. And you can see it lowers it significantly the more that students miss school. That study goes on to say that the extent of the damage that it does when students miss school goes beyond the classroom, and it really goes beyond just the individual student because it has an impact on all students in the class. Because when a student is absent, they return to class, there's lost instructional time when that teacher tries to provide that lost instruction to the student, give the makeup work, give those explanations. So when we're looking at a chronic absentee problem, it's more than just that student, it's really all of our students. In addition, the students who are missing school have a higher risk of being behavior disruptions. There's a higher risk of dropout, which leads to diminished wages, diminished access to health insurance as they get older, and a host of problems for them. So it's really just important that kids come to school every day. I know that in the past there's been concerns that, does an exam exemption policy, does it not prepare students for the rigor of college when they have those final exams? And this is a study that actually shows that when you're looking at college entrance exams compared to high school report card grades, high school GPA, that's what that stands for, is that there's a much greater influence and as a predictor of college success in high school grades as opposed to those entrance exams. And the reason that they found is that when you look at high school grades, it factors in those self-regulatory behaviors. I believe it says the ability to resist temptation, that delayed gratification, to be persistent, to pursue a goal over time. Those are factored in to a semester's worth of high school grades, whereas it's not necessarily indicated on an ACT or a final exam. And that's why if you look at cognitive ability, it makes up a small portion of impact as compared to the self-regulatory behavior and the cognitive abilities combined is over 50%. So I think that goes to show that an exam exemption wouldn't necessarily cause a student not to be successful in college. If we look at our historical data for attendance, we can see that the years prior to 2018-19, which is when we implemented that procedure previously, that we had a drop from those two previous years. If you notice in the first three actually, there are slight drops in average daily attendance of our students. And what that is reflecting are the actions that our school administrators are taking in their own buildings, communicating with parents, providing incentives for attendance, things that they have control over. Good standing is something that I know that they've tried. And while those do make a difference and we're seeing slight gains, what really made a change was when we implemented the exam exemption. And you can see that from that first year too, 2018-19, average absences for high school students went from 10.8 to 7.8. So that's 3 absences per student more that they had prior to the exams, the exam exemption. And when we add up that time, the pre-exemption loss, 3 per student for just high school students adds up to 15,000 missed days of school and almost 100,000 hours of lost instruction. In addition to the student achievement that we talked about, it also had an impact on our state report card. In 2017-18, prior to the exemptions, our chronic absentee rate for Madison County was close to 16%. We implemented the exam exemptions in 18-19. It was cut in half, down to almost 9%. And I've listed all of the subgroups below it, and it's similar in every category. It's really a problem that affects all of our students, not just a sector of them. And, you know, something to think about too is in 2018-19, that was the last time that we received a state report card, and we received a 90. We had an A on our state report card. If we had not made that reduction in chronic absenteeism, we would have had a B on our report card that year. So it really did make a difference. And I don't have to tell you that an A on a state report card affects a lot more than just the students of Madison County, because an A on a report card is what people moving into the area look at when they decide where they want to live. It affects the community, it affects property values, and it really does have the potential to be a very positive influence. Again, not just for our students, but for our community. So this is where we are today. As of this morning, we had over 1,000 students with 18 or more absences. That equates to 17% of our high school population. To put that into perspective, the last time that we had regular attendance data, which was the 18-19 report card before the pandemic, we finished the year with a little over 15% of chronic absenteeism. So we're at 17% now, and we have 7 weeks of school left, and those are 7 weeks that lend themselves to absenteeism. We tend to see more missed school in the spring than we do earlier in the year. So our previous procedure worked effectively. When we brought this before our high school principals to discuss, asked, is there anything that you think would work better? Is there anything we need to do differently? They were pleased with how we had this procedure in place before, and it was effective before. So we haven't been in a place where we could address it because attendance has not been regular since, the spring of 2020. But things tend to be on a more normal path now, so we're hoping that we can reconsider putting this procedure in place again so that, hopefully it's a tool that our administrators can use to combat the problem that we're having with attendance. And they will agree that this is probably the single thing that the board could do to support them as far as student achievement. That would make the biggest difference. Are there any questions?
When you say course absences, are you talking about per class? So like it's not across the board, 3 absences?
Correct. So the absences and the courses it correlates with the grades. So you could not qualify for an exam exemption in one class, but you could for another. When my son was a freshman, he had orthodontist appointments. We missed first block a lot. He didn't qualify for the first block exemption, but then he was there the rest of the day, so he did qualify for those.
So just, I mean, just for my own edification. So if you've taken 4 classes, math, English, science, whatever, you could miss 12 days of school, essentially, and still be exempted from the exam.
Well,
No.
no, because it's,
But what I'm saying is, if you miss 3 days in
Three-
math,
three.
3 days in English, 3 days in social studies, and 3 days in something else,
But you wouldn't miss the whole day. You would just miss
Right.
that class.
those are period absences as opposed to full day absences, yes, sir.
If you miss 12 full days, you wouldn't be eligible.
okay, that's why I want to make sure that,
12 classes.
You can miss 12.
yeah, 12 classes.
12 classes, but not 12 days.
Yeah, but 12 classes is still, it's a lot.
It is, but you would also have to miss 12 classes with a 4.0 grade point average.
On the first slides that you showed, go back to that, is that like some kind of national statistic?
Yeah,
This one?
no, the
Well,
first
the
one,
very
the
first
first of that one.
What, I don't understand that chart.
Okay. So this was one study, it was in the Journal of Educational Research, and what it did was it compared what they call stable attenders. Kids that have not moved, they stay in one school and they come to school every day. And then it measures their performance on a math benchmark test. So if you are in school every day and you're a stable student, you're not moving around, you can see that your attendance starts for our African American population here, for our white there. That gap in the subgroup still exists. But if you are stable, you're not moving around a lot, but you're not coming to school, then it lowers your performance on that math benchmark assessment. And it's the same, if you notice, like it's impacting the different ethnicities, and it's really impacting the mobile versus stable students the same way. So then the next one is mobile, like you move around a lot, but you come to school every day, and that's where your achievement is on that benchmark test. And then the last one is you move around a lot and you don't come to school every day. And what stood out to me on this one is when we think about transient kids, when we think about kids who move school to school, often those are our at-risk students. But this shows that if they come to school, even if they're moving around from school to school, if they're coming to school every day, then that attendance can be almost matched with the more stable students.
What do the numbers mean?
That's the scale score on the test that they took.
So we don't know how many absences that represents between the high score and the low
Yeah, I
score.
believe that for this study, they counted 5 or more absences.
Would get you in the lower part of the chart.
Will get you as a non-attender. If you had 5 or more absences, then you would be a non-attender.
So our policy is 3. So that's close to 5. So are we gonna accomplish anything?
Well, it's less than 5, it's almost half of 5.
Right, but I don't know if it's gonna accomplish anything.
I would like us to just, if we are going to consider this, one of the issues that had come up towards the end of this policy still being in effect was our students that have chronic illness where there is not a physician in town, which requires you, for instance, our diabetic children, or not, they're not all children, I realize some of them are 17 and 18 years old. There is not an endocrinologist here until you have to go to Vanderbilt or Birmingham, so you don't have the option of missing one class. Most of those kids have to follow up every 3 months. So I know that we kind of had tossed about being able to find a definition that creates an outlet for some of those, because that is not their fault. Like your orthodontist, he's here.
Right.
You're only going to miss one class, and you do have the option of trying to do that on a holiday or spring break or other times, but they really don't have that option. And I understand that that's a large undertaking, and I'm not saying that we're going to be capable of finding a definition that suits, but I think we should do the due diligence to see that if we aren't, at least we need to put forth the effort to make sure that we're considering our students who have chronic illness, who we cannot offer them those services here in Huntsville in order to be able to address that, because they have no other option other than to miss that entire day.
Yes, and I think that it would be important to, first of all, I think that would be an exception to the rule, I think, and then when we had those extenuating circumstances, we would need maybe some flexibility to address those in the school setting. And it could be developing a procedure for that.
Yeah, and I
That
don't,
was one thing that we talked about was, is there a difference between if this is policy or a procedure? And we felt like procedure gives the district staff and the school staff some discretion to use, common sense and good judgment to address what would obviously be a situation that, is out of everybody's control. Versus if it's a policy, then we're going to really,
Yeah.
we're going to follow it like it's written.
yeah, as long as we're making sure that we're consistently applying that procedure and that we're not eliminating somebody who just didn't ask. Because I think that's the bigger issue that happens. It's not that we tell somebody no, it's that that person didn't know they could ask. And so we need to make sure we're identifying those children and giving them that same opportunity.
What bothers me about this policy is that why is it, other school systems don't have to go this route, so I've never understood why this is our route to get absenteeism under control. I don't think it's a good position to be in, to take this approach. It's my
I think the idea is to make sure, to use as many different opportunities to create an opportunity for our students to come to school. And our data shows that, it did make a difference. And do you know how many other districts that actually do that? Have you looked at that?
No, sir, I can't speak to the other districts. Mr. Solly may, are you familiar?
I don't know off the top of my head. No.
Okay.
That's what
something we
bothers
can
me.
look at.
If everybody else has the same type of student body, we shouldn't be the exception to, only one in the
Well,
state or one of the few that doesn't give exams to try and combat absenteeism. That just, to me, that's.
I don't think we're an exception with chronic. I think it's a problem for all districts.
Right, but not everybody addresses it in this way. They don't take final exams away to address the problem, so.
Ms. Rucker, if I could comment, many school systems do this. It's not an unusual format that I'm familiar with, particularly in this region, and I cover limestone, Madison, Jackson, that county. And they do, because they see chronic absenteeism as a problem, and it is a privilege to exempt from exam. A privilege, not a right. It's extended if you meet certain criteria. My children, when I was superintendent, we had a similar policy, and it applied heavily to certain courses. It's even more significant in career tech areas, because you miss certain of those skill set developments, it becomes more significant. And frequently, you have the more diverse, larger numbers of high schools, so you're a little different. But the idea, and I support the idea of persons with specific disabilities, and the special ed form and the form would provide that as an option. I think you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
That's not an uncommon. It's not a punishment to say if you miss 5 days, you have to take the exam. It's a privilege, in the way I look at it, as an educator for 50-something years. It's a privilege. And in my case, my children and my grandchildren, I told them, my position is, I want you to take those exams because they have validity in helping them prepare for college. But it's an option that every parent should recognize the advantages when you're teaching, when you're instructing, like you talked about special ed exceptions. The fact that there is certain advantage to taking those exams, inherent. But there are some advantages to not have to take them. It takes a lot of pressure off the child.
To Dr. Reynolds' point, we use the number of absences as a benchmark to determine whether they should take the exam or not. But I think the parent should have to sign a form or say, we agree that they can be exempted from the exam. Let the parent determine that.
I don't think I answered
Well, and it may be that the ones outside this county are like that, but I don't think, and I don't know, I guess that's a question. What are Huntsville City?
Huntsville City, Athens.
And they have this policy where if you don't,
Very similar policy, with the numbers of, where exemptions relate to absences. You can be exempt, my son is a freshman, grandson is a freshman at Bob Jones. And they have 3 absences, and they have the block program, and he's a soccer player, and all those concepts come into play in his life. And orthodontist appointment and all this stuff. You have 3 absences that are unfettered, but you miss the 4th.
okay,
The
wait,
worst thing that happens, he has to take the exam. If he's got a good average, so what? If he's on the borderline between a B and an A, his mother and dad, she's not gonna have that option. He's gonna take that exam. And so, this is setting up
Let to think.
mechanism of control. Which I
if
believe you're right, that the parent should, I don't know if should sign off on it, because children have certain autonomies after a certain age, but that's the board's decision. But I do think, and of course, the data she used on is the PSAT, which is one measure of achievement, but I think sometimes more significant in other skill set areas, like career tech. If you're a welding student, you miss 5 days out of the sequence in welding, your performance level will fall back, maybe more than that. That's, I don't mean to interrupt your discussion, but that's a broader.
well, that makes me feel better if we're in line with everybody else instead of out of line with everyone else.
I don't think you're out of line with anybody else, and I don't think she would recommend it if it were not.
Well, we didn't, I mean, I don't think they knew, but I don't think the other people knew whether we were in line or out of line, but
I believe that this program, I believe, is consistent and in line with achievements of other school systems with similar policies in this area. I think you have colleagues in the other systems, I'm sure.
So
Huntsville has 4 or less excused absences, no unexcused absences, minimum of 85. They have some criteria. It's not exactly like ours, but they have an exam exemption policy that is based off this same thing of some combination of average and, number of absences.
So are we saying if it's a policy, it has to be followed to the T? But if it's a procedure, there's more leadway, like an out-of-town funeral, that you're gone 3 days. A procedure would let you, I guess, overlook that more than a policy would?
I wonder if you could just break it up into excused and unexcused absences. Maybe there's a mechanism if they're excused.
Well,
Or
and
is that-
Mr. Curry, we have as much problem with excused absences as
Okay.
we do
I see.
with unexcused, truly. And as far as state report card data goes, it
Doesn't
includes, it includes excused and unexcused.
Okay.
The business community approaching the state board has listed one of their highest priorities with their employees is attendance. That was, there are 10 criteria. The number 1 is attendance, the number 2 is being on time. So we're preparing students for life skills, and we all know, we're all involved in being at the place you're supposed to be, at the time you're supposed to be, is a significant factor. And that's part of what we're teaching, I assume, all our students.
So I guess my question was would this be better as a policy or a procedure?
you want to be consistent in all the schools
That would have to be a policy.
and in all the situations.
Yeah,
Well, not necessarily it doesn't necessarily have to be a policy. It could be a procedure that all schools have and follow the same procedure. And it's just like some other procedures that we have in our district. Some things are, some are policy, some are procedure. And we simply give out, all of our schools have the procedures, and then they follow them, and we make sure that they do so.
Prior to it was a procedure, correct? It was a board policy.
It was
It
not
was
included in the
it was
academic
our High
guide.
school academic guide,
Right.
which is a board-approved document, but it was not part of our board policy, though.
Okay.
And our academic guide, I guess I see that more as a a board-approved procedural guide, but
right.
it's not in our policy.
Okay.
And it was not in there this year. We didn't
Correct.
include it this year because we
It hasn't
haven't,
been in there,
again,
yeah,
haven't
the last
had-
2 years.
So amongst our principals that this would benefit, are they pretty unanimous? They all want this to be,
Yes, sir. We
Dr.
brought this.
Haddon's here too. I don't know, Dr. Haddon, if you want to.
Yeah, we were, Lance, we discussed it, a couple of weeks ago and talked about making changes to it. We came to the point that keeping it like it was really would be the best way going forward. It would be less confusing, for us to enforce, and it would be less confusing to the students because they would actually see what they needed to do. And, to your point, in the years that we did it, I never had a parent call and complain that they wanted their child to take the exam. They always were calling to say, my child had to go to the orthodontist, that was an excuse, why can't they exempt their exam? But all of our parents were really, really in favor of the exemption policy, and that got our kids to school. We rarely had a kid with a 60 average with 0 absences. If a kid was at school every day, that average went up significantly because not only were they in the classroom every day, but we also had things in place that we could help them get to where they needed to be if they were on campus every day. So the 0 and the 1 to 70, 60, we rarely dealt with that because the students' grades were much higher when they were in the building every day.
thank you.
And so when we had this before, to Angie's point, we didn't have any exceptions to it. Is this correct?
That's correct. We tried to adhere to it as it was written. And Ms. Ray and I, we talked about it, do we need a 4th bullet on here, something that says, about extenuating circumstances and stuff, and what I don't want to do is put our principals in a position to where everything can be decided as an extenuating circumstance.
Yeah, that makes
It seems, I don't know, the example that Ms. Bates gave, I feel like we could all agree that situations like that, we could, I don't know, that we could come to an agreement that things like that are outside of the purview of what we're trying to do. That student that's in that situation is not probably the student that we're trying to impact by putting this procedure in place. In talking with our principals, generally speaking, not exclusively, because attendance is certainly an issue with our students that are advanced placement students and, certainly college-bound students, but it is most prevalent in our students that maybe are not in those more rigorous classes and stuff, and they're the ones that are in most danger of failing or, certainly being unsuccessful after they graduate from high school. So, like Dr. Reynolds said and others in the room, it really is about instilling good practices in our kids. As Dr. Haddon said, it definitely helps them in their academics. The more they're there, the better their averages are going to be. We feel having them in school trumps a lot of other things, but that's the position of our principals and our instructional staff.
Anything else?
Any more questions for Ms. Ray? Thank you, Ms. Ray.
You.
Informational item C, Child Nutrition Supervisor Job Description. Ms. O'Bannon?
Yes, sir. If I may, I'll stay seated. I don't have a PowerPoint or anything. And I sent you the information earlier this week. So we're looking at administrative item C. What I wanted to bring to your attention, and as I did in the email, Our child nutrition supervisor, Ms. Howtwood, is retiring, sad to say. She's done a fabulous job. And in getting up to date with the qualifications with the USDA standards, we needed to tweak just the qualifications in our job description. It was actually changed in July 2015. Ms. Howtwood was hired in June 2014. So the four-year degree, it now says from accredited college in any major. And again, this is the USDA professional standards. Before, it said from accredited college, four-year degree with emphasis in food and nutrition. But what USDA, it appears, they're trying to do is they've also changed from at least 3 years of experience in food service management to at least 5 years of experience in food service management. And we can see how that would benefit us more than the four-year degree with emphasis in food, as well as that's USDA standards. So I'm asking the board to approve those two changes under qualifications only. Everything else stays the same as far as essential functions, so that it does say four-year degree with any major and at least 5 years of experience in food service management. And that is attached to the recommendation under administrative items. The changes are highlighted there.
Any questions for Ms. O'Bannon? Okay. Mr. Perkins?
Administrative items. Item A, I recommend approval of the contract with Synergix as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of the contract with Synergix?
Synergix.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry. I got messed up on the word and I just lost my train of thought.
Item B, I recommend approval of the February 2022 financial statements and payments of bills as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of February 2022 financial statements and payment of bills. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Item C, I recommend approval of the child nutrition job description as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of the child nutrition job description. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Item D, I recommend approval of contracts for services as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of contracts for services as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item E, I recommend approval of the bids as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of bids as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Item F, I recommend approval of the personnel items and addendum as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of personnel items and addendum as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Item G, I recommend approval of the supplemental contracts as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of supplements as attached. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that concludes the special session. We have a certificate to go into executive session for pending litigation.
That's correct,
And imminently likely litigation. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Special session's adjourned.